some people in their religious troubles, their religious slavery. According to my analysis, this is the easiest of the two confusing books, the one in the Old Testament and then the other in the New Testament, Revelation and Daniel, as far as what some people call prophecy. This is the easiest, and it's the reason some religions have built their foundation on it, because it is easily you can easily manipulate it. Since you are dealing, there are many churches around where pastors every morning tell people, I received a dream and God told me this and this. You have seen such preachers. There are very many, and people believe in them. You understand? Yes, whether it is true God talked to them or not, but people believe. You understand? Yes. So these books are also written in such a manner where someone is presenting himself as if he received a dream from God. But unlike the current preachers, I don't know. I've not done an investigation whether actually God speaks to them. Unlike the current preachers, as far as the Bible is concerned, especially the Old Testament and New Testament, these books, Daniel and Revelation, this was a method of writing. If you're a literature professor, if you teach languages, probably you must have come across different styles of writing. This was a style of writing. When we are talking about these books, we're not. Our problem is not who God spoke to and who God didn't speak to, but at the time of the writing of that book, what was happening? That is our question. Yes. So so now that because of lack of that information, that's why people have been misled. So there's a misunderstanding, misapplication of whatever they were illustrating. So when you look at the text we use, the main text, it might surprise you that I went to Matthew, to the New Testament, yet we are dealing with Daniel. It's because whenever we misunderstand a text in the Bible or a book, it obstructs us from the main goal of the Bible. The main goal of the Bible is the gospel. So if a book can't lead you to the gospel, then you have approached it the wrong way. You understand? So it shouldn't be a controversy between that a certain book, a certain text, and the gospel. So many people have been misled because of the misunderstanding. So they have even taken the gospel for granted. You understand? Yes, I remember a few weeks back when was it Pastor Isaiah battling with Pastor Kagwa about the other one saying that those people preach the gospel more than you, but everyone does it. But for us, yeah. So the text we're going to, because we're driving to that, I brought Matthew. I could have brought many. I brought Matthew. I'm just setting it at the start so that you follow. Matthew 16, 26, 28. Yeah. Matthew 16, 28 as the main text.
16:28. 16:28, RSV English translation. Truly I said to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom.
In his kingdom, yeah. Jesus told them, those he was preaching to, that some of you here who are standing with me are not going to die before you see the what? The kingdom of God. And people, those are texts you'll never see people tamper with. People will tell you how they have authority to know about your future, Yes, how your funds, how to rectify them using prayer, using fasting, but they'll never handle such text. It's a no-go zone because it is technical. This is a technical world, you know what I'm saying? They need keys that you need to sit down and think about the Bible for some good time to understand those keys, yeah? And yet these are the main texts we need for people to get the basics of the gospel. The other one is Matthew 12:28, which is similar, almost similar, which is talking about the same point. And
28, RSV version. But if it is by the Spirit of God that I cast out demons. Then the kingdom of God has come upon you.
Has come upon you. If it is by the Spirit that I'm cutting. The other one said, some of you are not going to die before you see the kingdom of God come. Now there he's saying, if it is by the Spirit of God that I'm casting out them, which he was doing already, then he said, then the kingdom of God has come. That means people have already seen. Are you understanding? Yes. The people who were there were already seeing the kingdom of God manifested. You understand? So if those who were following Jesus, I don't know who at that time, were understanding everything. You understand? So, but when you read Matthew 16:28, that those who are standing here won't die before they see the kingdom of God, and you're not aware of what Jesus has been preaching, then you will begin looking at, where are they? Are they still there? I've heard people talk about people who are 2,000 years in Israel. Those are myths, because they're trying to unlock what they don't know how it is handled. There are no such people, because the kingdom of God had already come in Jesus' coming. Are you understand? And its manifestation were present through the Spirit, which was not there when the book of Daniel was written. You understand? That's where we stand. Now, that means I have to give some good background before we go into the Bible. Some things you will find in the book. As we read, you are going to find that it is very easy to understand. Very easy, the easiest. If you have the following background. Number one, the first background is about time came when the Jews, the Israelites, left Exodus to the desert, to Canaan. They began dividing many generations. Thinkers came up. Thinkers among them realized that although they are keeping the law strictly and they were promised blessings, but many people have died without those blessings. You understand? They also realized among them there are many people, among them even outside them, like us Gentiles, all of us are Gentiles. There are many people who don't obey the laws. They are not righteous, as the covenants say. And those people are walking away with their sins. Are you understanding? The righteous one died. Even the one who was not righteous died. Yes, so this one has not been vindicated. He has not been given what was promised. This one is walking away. How will that problem be solved? Yeah, so there came a group of people. So now it is from that group of people that developed the Pharisees later, who thought like that. Now, what was the solution? The solution came up, the resurrection. That's how the resurrection starts to appear in the Old Testament. You understand? Yes, otherwise there's no resurrection anywhere apart from those questions. So the circles where those questions begin to come up in the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, they are called little apocalypse. Remember, these books are Apocalypse, Daniel, and Revelation. The others are little apocalypse, so that in some books, Ezekiel, Isaiah, there are some elements of what? Apocalypse, writing, those cryptic writing of hiding using images. So when you go to let me just read you the one of those solutions. Isaiah 16. Yes. Let me see, is it Isaiah 16? Get my text right. No, Isaiah 26. Isaiah 26. Sorry.
26?
Yes. Isaiah 26.
26.
Yes. Yes, verse 19.
Thy dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. All dwellers in the dust, awake and sing for joy. For thy dew is a dew of light, and on the land of the shades that thou wilt let it fall.
Yeah, so that's the resurrection. That's the first.
It has better But those who die in the Lord will live. Their bodies will rise again. Those who sleep in the earth will rise up and sing for joy.
Uh-huh.
For your life-giving light will fall like dew on your people in the place of the dead.
Good. That those the righteous will rise. That's the point. Solution came up that those who died, who were righteous, they will do what? They will rise. So those were the first element. As you know that in the Bible, revelation is progressive. When it is starting, it comes with certain truth, but not everything is what? Is clear. You understand? So in the book of Isaiah, begin to get the resurrection. Now, to show you that it wasn't as clear as we have it in Christianity today, because for us, we have all the light there is. You understand? When you go to Isaiah 65, now they try to broaden what they think is what they think is involved in the resurrection. Then we come at that concept of the new heaven and the new earth. You can read from 17.
17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create.
Jump to verse 20.
Verse 20. No more shall there be in it an infant that lives but a few days, or an old man who does not fill out his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, and the sinner 100 years old shall be accursed.
Yes, that's enough. That in the concept of revelation of resurrection they developed, people would die again. This is where the point is. And this is a hermeneutic key to unlocking Daniel somewhere. That the concept of revelation of resurrection they had, after they have been vindicated, those holy ones, you understand? The question was, now they are dying. Now the solution came, they will rise. But even now, when in that new world, new heavens and earth, not going somewhere where God lives, in that, the earth at that time will be a new heaven and what? A new earth. And then people in those days, they won't die. Unless they are 100 years. You understand? Yes. So people will live longer. You understand? More years, more children, marry more virgins. Those concepts. You understand? Come from those areas, those corners. So therefore, that background is printed in the book of Daniel. When you read Daniel chapter 12, when they are talking about now you shall resurrect, and they are not talking about the resurrection, they are talking about the resurrection in this concept. You understand? So people who read Daniel and look at the rest, they are thinking about Jesus' second appearing. No. You understand? So that's one background. Background number 2, which is very important. At the time after the exile, Jews generally believed the spirit is normal. The spirit was withdrawn because the questions were, why are we suffering? Assyrians are coming, they hit us. Babylonians are coming because you remember the kingdom had 12 tribes. You understand? So 10 were in the north, 2 were in the south. So the present Jews who are in Jerusalem, those are the descendants of those ones. You understand? Are in fact the result of 2 tribes which were in the south. You understand? The 10 tribes, all of them are no more as far as origin is concerned. Why? Because the Assyrians came, hit them, and took away one sex. Are you understand? You know, if you are to get progeny, you understand? Abaganda, we know what's Abaganda. You understand? The Luos must marry the Luos so that Luos continue. You understand? But the moment all the female Luos are taken away to the US. You won't have any Luo.
But it kisses.
Are you understanding? So when the Assyrians came, they took away all the 10 tribes, one sex. You understand? One sex left behind, and then they deported their people. Are you understanding? So that those 10 tribes disappeared. So we remain with the 2 tribes down, including the tribe of Judah. That's why they are called the Jews, because they come from Judah. Are you understanding? Yes. So now, because of those events that were disastrous to them, the easiest interpretation was the Spirit of God is no more among us. You understand? So now in the book of Joel, when you go to Joel chapter 2, verse 28, that's some of the texts where they talk about these things, you know?
And it shall come to pass afterwards that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions.
Yes, that a time now they resorted to a consolation theology. That yes, the Spirit of God is no more, but one day it will return. Are you understanding? Those texts of Joel. So that's what he's saying. And it shall come to pass that a time will come that your daughters will begin to what? To prophesy. The Spirit of God will be poured. So no wonder that text was remembered at the Pentecost. You remember when the Spirit was poured? Yes, because Jews had never seen such a thing in years. You understand? So now, Jesus in his preaching, when he said, when you see the miracles of God happen, and I'm doing them by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God has come. Actually, according to Jesus, the Spirit of God was available through him. At Pentecost, we may say it was available on what? On these disciples. Because second background, very important, the book of Daniel, that this is not prophecy, please. Because at the period when it was written, the Spirit of God, the Spirit of prophecy, in quotes, was not there.
Maybe it was there.
You understand? So, Jews invented a form of writing, especially when they are in persecution. You understand? So whenever they were being persecuted, they would write in Apocalypse. These are are not the only apocalyptic books available for Jews. You remember the Old Testament is basically for Jews. It's the one they use up to now. The Netanyahu. They use, the other day I said Netanyahu on what? On TV, showing blessings and curses using a map. Did you see that? Are you people following? You understand? You should upgrade your TVs to smart TVs, get internet. Netanyahu brought maps, the whole world was seeing, but it's not the theologian who understood what was happening. Because he was talking about the theology of curses and blessings in Deuteronomy 28. He was showing the areas they have conquered as the blessings. The areas that are still under, and why it was written, and what was the audience for which it was written. You understand? Yes, if you can't tell us those things, you are too far from the intention. What was the problem he was solving? Because books, everyone would have written. You understand? He was solving a certain problem. So now, who wrote it? Now, the book of Daniel is very good because it gives. There is what in theology it has been called the historical error. It gives an error at the start of the book, which points to who wrote it. First of all, it eliminates Daniel. Don't think about Daniel writing this as many people think. Let us read Daniel 1:1 and 2.
In the third year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the vessels of the house of God. And he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God.
That's enough. Those texts are saying that when Nebuchadnezzar went to Israel, he conquered and he took the king. That's the point. That's what you should always remember if you want to use this book. He took the king with him, and they are mentioning the name of the king. The name of the king they give is Joachim. Are you understanding? But the name of the king in history, in a true history, and in the Bible that Nebuchadnezzar took was not Joachim. He took Joachim. CH. Joachim was the father of CH. Yes, proof is 2 Kings 24. Because these are the keys, we have to get those details. 2 Kings 24. 24, you can start from verse 1. You can read verse 1.
24 verse 1 says, in his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Joachim,
yes, that is him. Yes.
became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him.
That's enough. So Joachim, his father, when Nebuchadnezzar, he sent his army, and they won. Joachim, the father, accepted to be under Nebuchadnezzar. He became a vessel king. He was not taken to Babylon. Are you understanding? Time reached, he died. He died in verse 5.
Of 2 Kings?
Yes, there in the same chapter.
Verse 5. Now the rest of the deeds of Joachim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the Kings of Judah?
Go on.
So Joachim slept with his fathers, and Joachim, his son, reigned in his stead.
In his name. You see, the other one died. So when the son was king, now in verse 8, that was when Nebuchadnezzar came. Personally. Go muntu. He came to Jerusalem. Read verse 8.
Joachim was 18 years old when he became king, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Nehushata, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up to Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to the city while his servants were besieging it. And Joachim, the king of Judah, gave himself up to the king of Babylon, himself, and his mother, and his servants, and his princes, and his palace officials. The king of Babylon took him prisoner in the 8th year of his reign.
That's enough. Joachim, CH, the son to Joachim, KI, you understand? Was the one Nebuchadnezzar took. Now, you tell me, anyone who, common sense here, you don't need to be a theologian. If Daniel was in that group, these are prisoners, you understand? Daniel's message, what, and the king. They know that even the king is here. Kabaka Ronald Mwena is here. You understand? How could Daniel, an educated man, forget the name of the king? Are you understanding? Yeah, so that's the trigger number one. So it's therefore that's what opens the book. It is giving you guides how you move. So the author of the book did not exist with the Daniels. No. He came many years after Daniel. That at that time, do you remember the history of Uganda? Exactly what is happening? Who signed, who was there, and what, who was the secretary? Do we have that history? No. Yeah, but we know the Uganda agreement, 1900, happened. You understand? The event happened. So at that time, many centuries, you understand? The events were known, but the details were scanty. There were only popular views among people. You understand? So the author, although he had a very good intention, now he's bringing, now what is happening? He knew about the story of Daniel. You understand? So he's using it as an illustration for something. That is his goal. You understand? He's not giving real history according to Herodias. You know Herodias? The father of modern history is called Herodias. There are two. And he's Thucydides. You understand? They are the ones who investigated history in those days. Clearly, he's not giving history according to Herodias and Thucydides. No. He's using an illustration of a person which was the predominant culture at that time, when the spirit of prophecy was no more. You understand? The spirit of God, not the spirit of prophecy. The spirit of God was what they believed was no more. So they used to go to their history, get righteous people like Noah, like Daniel. You understand? Like Job. That's how the book of Job also comes. You understand? So you get an illustration about what is known about the history, then you talk about something using it. You understand? So now this is a story that is backdated. It's not a story where someone is writing before the events happen, as the popular preachers tell us. Are you understanding? Yes. It's not a story that someone is predicting now in the future, this kingdom will come and the other one will come and the other one. The author already knew about all those kingdoms before he wrote. Don't you know who Museveni overthrew?
No.
Yeah? Who did Ruto overthrow? Don't we know? Yes. Even before Ruto, don't we know? Yes. The author knew that after Nebuchadnezzar was this and after this one. Now, but what brings another shocking finding, that the histories that were very far from him, because he wrote about 4 centuries after him, after these events, very far from him. Now, when was the exile happening? The exile happens about, I'm going to use before the birth of Christ. I'm not going to use those words BC so that people understand, because those years confuse people. I'm not going to mention any year, but I'm going to be mentioning that before the birth of Christ, because our point is the birth of Christ brought something, you understand, that we must stick on. So before the birth of Christ, about 400 years, 400 centuries, 500, between that, that's when the exile happened. You understand? So because those events were too far from him, the history was not details. But when you read the book of Daniel, as he's coming close to his day, and those are the events now that catch people's minds, he gives details. Everything. He's as if he's Herodias and Theodias. At the beginning, he messed up. You understand? So the things that were very far, the other event that he messed up with, when you go to Daniel 5:31, the king that overthrew the Babylonians.
And Darius the Mede took over the kingdom at the age of 62. That's 31.
30, you read 30 as well. Daniel 5:30.
That very night, Belshazzar, the Babylonian king, was killed. And Darius the Mede took over the kingdom at the age of 62.
Yes, number one, the Belshazzar has never been a king of the Babylonians. You understand? Belshazzar was a son of a king of the Babylonians. Who was the king of the Babylonians according to history, true history? It was called Nabonidus. You understand? Now, at one point in time during those periods, Nabonidus went for I think he was confident. The historians don't know the reason exactly why. They just give ideas why he left his kingdom. You understand? But he went to Arabia like a holiday, a 10-year holiday. You understand? Yes, 10 years. And in that period, his son was the one taking over. But he was not a good ruler, you understand? But because he had controlled almost everything, there were systems, the son would, you understand, maneuver. So the son was called Belshazzar. 2. So he was not the king, but Nabonidus was the what? Was the king, you understand? So as you can see that someone who's not close, who's not in that history, is not giving those details, you understand? He's just saying Belshazzar was the what? Was the king. When the hand, you understand, wrote on the wall. So 2, it was not Darius. In the history of the Middle East, there's no king called Darius among the Persians. It was Cyrus, even in the Bible. When you read Isaiah, from verse 40, they talk about Cyrus who signed the credits to let the Israelites go back home. You understand? After he had conquered Nebuchadnezzar, the king, Cyrus was an Assyrian king. Now, the Medes that are mentioned in this text, before the Assyrians came to battle Babylon somewhere, they made an alliance with the Medians somewhere. You understand? They won a battle, but later again they separated. So the Assyrians were moving and they fought them actually. So the Assyrians now, they were the big powers. So they came, they battled Nabonidus, they won. So it was Cyrus who took over. So that one is also another missed detail. You understand? So the author doesn't have those details. So that's how we know that this is not prospective. If you are doing research, you have done research prospective. From now to forward, you begin following people. This mother, how come they're doing this? This is retrospective. Events have already happened. Now you're going what? You're going through. You understand? So it is, the events are behind the author. That's 1. 2. The purpose of writing. This is very important. He wrote due to 3 reasons. Number 1, he at the time, because now when you count 4 centuries from the exile, you land in a period that is very important to the Jews. It is called the Maccabean Revolution. Maccabees. I will explain what Maccabees mean. First of all, just get that. In that period, because of the Hellenization. Now, when you look at that structure, that dream that Daniel, you understand? That Daniel interpreted, you understand? That he gave the dream, he guessed the dream, and also gave an interpretation. which Nebuchadnezzar was surprised about. Sorry. So these kingdoms, the way they are arranged, what is most important is that these knees, from the knees to the ankles, that part meant Hellenization. That is Alexander the Great. All of us know, and every historian knows, that at one point there arose a man called Alexander the Great who wanted to conquer the whole world. That's why he's called the Great. You understand? And indeed he did, but he died early. You understand? When he was still young. So Nebuchadnezzar conquered, and that's when you look at the table of history. You can Google and look at the table of history of the Middle East history. They'll show you at one point in time, the whole world was under Alexander the Great. Now from that column, now they come down, now they break. Immediately he dies. His two generals divided the world. One of them went to Egypt. You understand? Another one remained in Mesopotamia. You understand? Mesopotamia. So the Mesopotamia is where the Assyrians come from. In Egypt, the king was Ptolemy. You can Google in history. These are detailed history. You understand? Now the Jews in the middle, Palestine, remained under Egyptians. But at that time, Egyptians were very good. The Greeks in Egyptians, because Alexander used to move with scientists. The Archimedes, the what, you understand? He conquers, he leaves them, they plan, they do what they want, they build schools. So when they landed in Egypt, they liked the place. So the scientists and the rulers in Egypt were very friendly. They were Hellenizing. Hellenizing means you are Muganda, for them they are whites. But they convert you slowly, peacefully, you understand? No war, no what, you understand? So the Jews were very okay with that, yes. That's how the Jews began to be Hellenistic. Many, especially the upper class, the Elder Francis taught us about classes, of economic classes. The upper class among the Jews, they liked Hellenization because it brought education, it brought science. You understand? They moved to that side. Now, the Jewish religion began to die. This is very important. As they were moving to Hellenism, to Greek, Jewish religion began to die slowly, but no revolt. You understand? Under the Egyptians. Now remember the Assyrians, they are that side. For them, they are not controlled, but they started fighting because they wanted to control the Jews, the Palestinians. Now I want you to look at this side. We have Egyptian, Greeks in Egypt, a general from Alexander the Great in Egypt after Alexander has died, and another general from Alexander the Great in Mesopotamia. They are all fighting to take control of the what? Of the Jews in the middle. So after fighting for more than 2 decades, you understand? One day, they conquered. When the Greeks in Mesopotamia conquered the Jews, now for them, Hellenization became by force. You understand? No more peace that you think and see whether it is good and take it over. They came by force. You understand? Now, the kings in the Mesopotamia, the one in Egypt was called Ptolemy. Now, excuse me. When I pronounce it Ptolemy, I just want you to get I don't know how it's pronounced here, how it is spelled. It starts with P. It starts with P, so that if you are to Google, you Google it well. PT, you understand? Now, the one in Mesopotamia was called Seleucus. That is important, that name, Seleucus. Now, the sons that Seleucus was giving birth to, they were called Epiphanes. I mean, the sons. Let me get the real Greek spelling of the name. They were called Antiochus. So he gave birth to Antiochus I. So I'm talking about the kings that succeeded him when he had conquered. So Antiochus I, Antiochus II. Then again, another son was named Seleucid I, Seleucid II. Then Antiochus III, Antiochus IV. So it was under Antiochus IV that the Jews felt the real persecution. Now, when was that? That was about 200 years before Jesus was born. You understand? So in that period, this Egyptian, the Mesopotamian emperor, king, who was Greek, was forcing the Jews to do it. Now, how was he doing it? So the details of how he was doing it are what you see in Daniel chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 12. You understand? I'm going to give all those details. But before I give that, there is the second purpose. I was talking about the first purpose why it was written. So the Jewish religion was dying. So the author was rekindling, you understand, the religion back. You understand? So it was revolutionizing. It was rekindling a revolution. Second purpose why it was written. You understand? At that time, during this Antiochus 4, it was very illegal to find you with the Torah. You understand? It was very illegal to find you with the Torah, reading it in your home. You understand? It was prohibited. So the author wanted to tell Jews to read the Torah despite the persecution. You understand? Now, how did he do that? He brought the story of Daniel. What did he say? He said, now when Nebuchadnezzar conquered the Daniels, he brought them to the table, the king's table. There were pigs, there were all kinds of fish. The Nebuchadnezzars rejected the foods of what? Of the king in favor of vegetables. You understand? Yeah. When they ate vegetables and they didn't eat the king's menu, what happened to Nebuchadnezzar? They became wise. The Daniels. Therefore, they were able to interpret the dream. They became wiser than the advisors of the king. Now, what was the author rekindling? The author was just mimicking Psalms. Psalms 1, Psalms 19, Psalms 119. If you have heard of the text that says, the fear of the Lord, which is very misunderstood by Christians. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of the wisdom. The wisdom they are talking about is not the wisdom, The wisdom is very clear in Psalms 19. You read Psalms 19, verse 7. Psalms 19, 7.
It says, the instructions of the Lord are perfect, reviving the soul. The decrees of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple.
You can read another translation and get the vocabulary. 7.
Verse 7 says, the law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever.
So you can stop there. When the Jews are talking about the fear of the Lord, they are talking about the law. So when you keep the law, you become wise. So when Daniel kept, and his group, they kept the decrees in Revelation, the book of Leviticus, they were able to interpret the dream. No wonder in universities currently, when you begin to fight, people have been persecuted for Sabbath. Everybody was here doing exams, what and what. The only sermon they go to is the book of Daniel. You understand? Let us persevere. The Daniels also what? Persevered. You understand? By keeping the law, they became wise. You understand? I'm getting how now contemporary people usually become zealous, using illustrations they don't understand. Now, the author of Daniel wanted the Jews to be zealous, to be loyal to the Torah at all costs. You understand? They wanted to be loyal to the Torah at all costs. So he wrote the book of Daniel with that illustration. Do you understand? So now when we come to the details of the Maccabees, this is what was happening. And after I've listed down events for you, even you're going to begin remembering some of those texts before I read them. You understand? The texts that trouble people. So when Antiochus IV conquered became king, you understand? Unlike his brothers, Antiochus 1, Antiochus 2, Antiochus 3. You understand? For him, he called himself Epiphanes. Epiphanes meaning in Greek, meaning a god what? Incarnate. Are you understanding? Yes, he was a little god. You understand? Now he represented a god called Zeus. So when he represented the god Zeus, even his coins, the coins didn't have, they had his picture but not his name, but the name of the god. He represents the name. Those coins are in history. You can Google them and see them. Like around 150 years before Jesus was born. That was what was happening. We are still in the kingdom that is under Alexander the Great. Romans are nowhere. Please understand. The legs of that statue. You understand? The feet they have from the knee to the ankle. It is Alexander the Great. So the reason they have some of the color that is from the knee because they are showing you the remains of Alexander the Great. It's very simple. We're not talking about religious Rome and what they are not there. Rome was nowhere. Rome came in 63 years before Jesus was born. That was when Rome, in fact, the author of Daniel, after he had written his book, you understand, he was shocked by another empire that he didn't know about. That is Rome. Yeah? You know, when Pompey, the Roman general was called Pompey, who marched to Jerusalem. Do you understand? Pompey marched to Jerusalem 63 years before the birth of Jesus. Now, unlike these kings who were divided, this one was taking over Egypt, and then they were fighting to get Palestine, and then this one is still in Mesopotamia. Pompey took over everywhere. He conquered Egyptians, Mesopotamia, everywhere he swept. I understand? Romans were all over. So we are not, the feet, they are talking about the generals, the remains of Alexander the Great. They are not talking about Rome. Rome is not anywhere in this book. It is not in the picture. Because he's writing to people who are suffering because under what? Under Antiochus Epiphanes 4. Now, what was the suffering? Because this takes a lot of dreams, so-called dreams, you understand? Now, this was the suffering. Number one, that general who called himself a god, he did the following. And even you will see that, number one, why they really fought, the origin of the what? Of the revolt. Number one, when he became king, he told them, Torah no more.
Epiphanies.
Yes. No reading Torah. 2. Yes, you can worship your God, but in addition to me. Zeus in addition. Now remember the Jews, their Yahweh is what? Is jealous. Are you understand? So they brought their theology that for us, our God is what? Is jealous. We cannot worship him with another God. That's how the revolts began. You understand? Yes, we cannot worship him with another God. 2. He needed money because after fighting, because they were in 2 battles for like 20 years, fighting to conquer these Jews, they didn't have money. You want? Antiochus 4th, they won a battle at Pina. That battle is known in history. You can Google it, at a place called Pina, winning the other general of the other side. You understand? So he lost a lot of money. So he needed money. Do you know what he did? He auctioned the high priest's position in Jerusalem. Because at that time, some Jews had become Hellenistic. You understand? They are open-minded. Anyone can be church elder. You understand those things? Eh? Why so and so's family to be the priests? You understand? We can also be. So he wrote about that. So he auctioned that position. Why? Because now he's governor. You worship him, you worship your God. You understand? He auctioned the position. At the highest bidder, the one who has the highest money is the one who takes it. Okay? So one of the people who had money, of course, who won, he installed him. Now the Jews are back at home, rejected him. They installed what? Another one. When he learned about that, he marched. When Antiochus Epiphanes marched to Jerusalem to uninstall the priest he had not put, the events that happen is what they refer to the abomination that causes desolation. Do you understand? Because they were abominable. There is no way any Jew would accept those things. Number one, He went to the temple, as you know, the holy temple with the most holy, and you understand? He went there, and where they used to sacrifice, he installed an altar for his god, Zeus. That's the one. That is prohibited. You cannot come to the Jewish temple and install another altar to give sacrifice. Now they give to another god in the Jewish temple. That is abominable in Jewish culture. They cannot do that. To make matters worse, he went for the most clean, what they refer as the most, which one is that animal?
The lamb.
No, the most unclean, not the most clean. The pig. He brought swine. And sacrificed them in the temple.
That man
He sacrificed them in the temple. You're now from now onwards begin to sacrifice pigs. Are you understanding? Jews began to do it literally. You understand? To sacrifice pigs on the altar in the temple. You understanding? Two. Two, he said, no more Sabbath keeping. You understand? No more Sabbath keeping, no more Torah. So it became to the climax under that general. You understand? That king. So in the mountains, a few meters from Jerusalem, there was a village priest somewhere. Because the soldiers now began moving around, forcing people to do it. They find a Jew, slaughter for Zeus, pig. You understand? So a priest. Yes, sir. So the priest, when he saw a soldier, an official of what? Of Antiochus, ordering a Jew to do it, he killed both of them. Because the Jew wanted to do. So for him, with his holiness, he said, you understand? Killing each other began there. This priest had 5 sons. The firstborn was called Judas. Now, Judas was trained, we don't know how, but he was trained in boxing. You understand? He was good at boxing, his blows. So it is his blows that they refer to as hammers. And that's what the Jews at that time referred to as Maccabees. Because after his father died, because the revolution, the fighting now, killing each other began in the what? In the villages, not in the Jerusalem. So now many Jews, they literally began a guerrilla war against, you understand? The rulers, you understand? So now, time reached, he died. Now his son Judas, and when you read history, they will show you Judas. After Judas, there was Simon. Everyone ruling for some time. So Judas, since he was good at blows, he trained people how to fight, and that's how they began winning Antiochus Epiphanes. They fought a battle and they won. After they had won, because they were not for killing, they decided to sit down. They make an agreement with them. From now onwards, quit the temple. You understand? Altar no more. Torah is ours. You understand? We are keeping our Sabbath as we want. You understand? You don't come to our area anymore. You rule. You be the political what? Take the tax. You understand? The priest is ours. It's us who decide, not you. You understand? You don't auction. You understand? They made the agreement, and that agreement went to up to about two decades. You understand? So that silence, that peace, you understand? The Jews up to now have a festival for it. But now, this is not propaganda. These are not dreams. The author wrote of things that are happening. You understand? He wrote to people that exist, that he was encouraging to do something. So that feast is called Hanukkah. The Feast of Hanukkah, you can Google it and see the details. The Feast of Hanukkah, the Feast of Hanukkah. In that feast, they light candles, they celebrate the rededication of the temple. Rededication of the temple. The Feast of Hanukkah, they still celebrate it. You understand? Now, that piece, who cut that piece short? It was the coming of Pompey, the Roman general. And that's what the book of Daniel does not know about. So don't talk about any Rome in the book of Daniel. There is no Rome in the book of Daniel. We are dealing with Hellenization that the Jews fought and were writing. Now, the reason he wrote in Apocalypse, and he called it seals, you're going to find that you read that text in Daniel, because I found that text, by the way, even in Makerere, somewhere, I don't remember which faculty, but somewhere around IT, the schools of IT, I found a sign. I think it was professors who influenced that signpost to be there. They wrote that knowledge, people will move forth and backward and to look for the knowledge. People normally quote that text. You read Daniel 12, verse. You can read verse 1 and 3 because we have talked now about that. Now you can begin to read the book of Daniel.
At that time, shall arise Michael, the great prince who has charge of your people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never has been since there was a nation till that time. But at that time, your people shall be delivered. Everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. Some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. I
dealt with that. Yes. The resurrection, it's not our resurrection. You understand? And the everlasting life is their new world and new whatever.
Yes.
That's what they mean. Go on.
And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament.
Now you know who the wise are. They are those who keep the law, the Torah.
Yes. And those who turn many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and from, and knowledge shall increase.
Many shall. That's the text I found in Makerere. I didn't know the context, but I just found it somewhere. Yes, many shall run to, and because it is sealed, it when it falls in the wrong hands, they shouldn't know what is communicating. Are you understanding? Yes, when it falls among Antiochus' generals, they shouldn't know that he's telling them to read the Torah despite persecution. They shouldn't know that he's telling them to keep the Sabbath. They shouldn't know that he's telling them to continue sacrificing to Yahweh alone, not to Zeus. Seal the book. That's the meaning. You understand? Write it in a cryptic form. Yes.
Encrypted.
Hide the meaning. At the time of the end they are talking about not Jesus is coming. No, they are talking about their resurrection. You understand? For the writer to be what? To be vindicated. You understand?